Don't say that, marry me.
Two members secretly set a plan in motion, leaving the entire group speechless. Watch until the very end, because one small detail in this moment can change everything. No one expected the day to unfold the way it did. The rehearsal studio had been unusually quiet since sunrise. Music echoed softly through the empty corridors while staff members hurried between dressing rooms, production offices, and a massive stage that was only days away from hosting the biggest concert of the year. Cameras were being tested, lighting crews adjusted hundreds of moving spotlights. Every detail appeared perfectly organized. At least, that was what everyone believed. Behind the scenes, however, something entirely different was happening. Two members of the internationally celebrated group Aurora 7 had disappeared from the rehearsal schedule without telling anyone exactly why. Their manager assumed they had gone to review choreography together. The production team believed they were meeting with costume designers. Even the other members assumed everything was normal. None of those assumptions were correct. Miles away from the rehearsal arena, the two idols quietly stepped into an old recording studio that hadn't been used for years. The building looked forgotten from the outside, but inside it had been completely restored with modern equipment. Hidden beneath the soft glow of warm studio lights sat a piano, several guitars, and a collection of handwritten notebooks spread across a large wooden table. The room wasn't chosen by accident. Years earlier, before worldwide fame transformed their lives forever, this was where they had written some of their earliest songs. It was a place filled with memories, failures, victories, and promises they had made to each other when success still felt impossible. Today, they had returned for one reason: to keep a promise. Neither of them spoke for several minutes. Instead, they silently flipped through old lyric sheets, smiling whenever they recognized faded handwriting or coffee stains left behind during endless nights of songwriting. Every page reminded them of how much had changed and how much still remained exactly the same. Outside, rain slowly began falling against the studio windows. Inside, inspiration returned. One of them placed a worn notebook onto the piano. This is where it started. The other nodded quietly, and maybe this is where the next chapter begins. They weren't planning a comeback. They weren't planning a farewell. They were creating something no one else in the company even knew existed. Over the past several months, both of them had secretly contacted musicians they admired, former producers who helped launch their careers, and even a children's music foundation that had inspired them during difficult times. Every conversation had remained confidential. Every meeting had been carefully scheduled during personal days off. The goal wasn't publicity. It wasn't about breaking streaming records. It wasn't even about releasing another chart-topping single. This project carried a much deeper meaning. Back at headquarters, the remaining 5 members noticed the absence almost immediately. Morning rehearsals usually began with laughter. Today, laughter was replaced with confusion. One member checked his phone repeatedly, convinced there must have been a schedule update. Another casually asked a staff member where the missing pair had gone. No one had an answer. Even management looked slightly puzzled. For the first time in years, information seemed to be missing from everyone's calendar. As rehearsals continued, small details began standing out. Several microphones had been quietly reserved for an unknown recording session. A transport vehicle had left the company garage hours earlier without appearing on the official logistics sheet. An audio engineer unexpectedly canceled another appointment after receiving what he described as a very special request. Nothing individually appeared suspicious. Together, they formed a puzzle. Meanwhile, inside the hidden studio, melodies slowly filled the room. The first version of the song sounded incomplete. The second version sounded too familiar. The third version suddenly changed everything. Neither musician spoke after hearing the final chorus. Instead, they simply looked at each other. Without saying a word, both realized they had finally discovered the sound they had been searching for. It wasn't louder. It wasn't faster. It was honest. The lyrics focused on friendship, time, gratitude, and the invisible bond that continues growing even when life constantly changes. There were no dramatic effects, no complicated choreography, just sincerity. Hours passed almost unnoticed. Outside, the rain finally stopped. Golden afternoon sunlight entered through the windows, illuminating dust particles drifting peacefully through the air. One of them quietly smiled. "This feels right." For the first time in months, neither worried about expectations, numbers, rankings, or headlines. They were simply creating music. Elsewhere, concerns slowly spread through headquarters. Managers attempted making phone calls. Assistants reviewed transportation records. Production coordinators checked security footage. Nobody appeared worried about safety anymore. Instead, curiosity became impossible to ignore. Why had these two chosen complete secrecy? What could possibly require this level of confidentiality? Late in the afternoon, the 5 remaining members gathered inside a conference room after rehearsal. The atmosphere felt unusually calm. No frustration, no anger, only curiosity. Everyone trusted each other completely. That trust made the mystery even more unusual. One member quietly placed a sealed envelope on the table. It had arrived only minutes earlier. No sender, no explanation, only a handwritten message. "Please don't open this until everyone is together." Silence immediately filled the room. The envelope wasn't large. It contained only a few sheets of paper. Still, somehow it felt surprisingly heavy. Management suggested waiting. The members agreed. They decided no one would open it until every member had returned. None of them realized the decision would completely change the rest of their evening. As sunset painted the city skyline in shades of orange and gold, the hidden recording session finally reached its conclusion. The final piano note slowly faded into silence. Both creators leaned back in their chairs, exhausted, relieved, hopeful. One carefully saved the project files onto 3 separate storage drives. The other gently closed the old notebook they had opened that morning. Before leaving, they looked around the studio one final time. Nothing inside had changed, yet somehow everything felt different. Outside, a black van quietly waited beside the building. Its destination wasn't headquarters. Instead, it headed toward an undisclosed location across the city. Inside the conference room, the unopened envelope remained untouched in the center of the table. 7 chairs surrounded it. 5 were occupied. 2 remained empty. No one noticed that beneath the envelope rested a single photograph hidden from view. That photograph contained one tiny detail capable of changing how every member understood the entire project. And before the night was over, the secret that had remained hidden for months would finally begin revealing itself. The 5 members understood that whatever was inside had been prepared with purpose, and opening it before everyone returned would only diminish its meaning. Instead, they waited, replaying the day's unusual events in their minds. Every canceled meeting, every unexplained absence, every strange request suddenly felt connected. Outside, the city lights slowly replaced the fading sunset. Several miles away, the black van finally came to a stop. The 2 members stepped out and entered a quiet community theater tucked between rows of historic brick buildings. It wasn't glamorous. There were no reporters, flashing cameras, or giant promotional banners. Only a handful of technicians adjusted lights on a modest stage while a small youth choir rehearsed a gentle melody. The theater had once hosted the group's very first public performance years before anyone knew their name. Returning there had never been about nostalgia alone. It was about gratitude. Months earlier, they had quietly learned that the theater was struggling financially. Rising maintenance costs threatened to close its doors forever, taking with it the music education program that had inspired hundreds of young performers. Without telling anyone, the pair decided to do something extraordinary. Not through publicity, not through headlines, but through action. They spent months writing a new song dedicated to dreamers who refused to give up, no matter how impossible success seemed. Every royalty from the project would support community music programs around the country. Only a handful of trusted producers knew the full plan. Back at headquarters, footsteps echoed through the hallway. The missing two had finally returned. The conference room door opened. For a brief moment, nobody spoke. The atmosphere was intense. It was filled with anticipation. One of the returning members smiled as he noticed the unopened envelope exactly where he had left it. You waited. Every person around the table nodded. Without another word, he picked up the envelope and carefully opened it. Inside rested several photographs. The first showed all 7 members standing together years ago on the tiny stage inside the same community theater. The second captured a group of children learning to play instruments under the guidance of volunteer teachers. The final photograph stopped everyone in the room. Written across the back in faded ink were the words they had promised each other before debuting. If we ever make it, we'll make sure someone else gets their chance too. The room became completely still. No one remembered exactly who had first spoken those words. Over time, the promise had simply become part of who they were. The 2 members then placed a portable speaker in the center of the table. This is what we've been working on. A gentle piano introduction filled the room. Soon, warm acoustic guitars joined the melody. Then came the chorus. It wasn't designed to dominate streaming charts. It wasn't built around explosive production. Instead, it carried a message every member immediately recognized. It sounded like home. By the time the final note faded away, no one had spoken for several seconds. One member quietly laughed. Another wiped away tears before anyone noticed. Someone leaned back in his chair and whispered, "This is the reason we started making music." The project suddenly made perfect sense. The secrecy had never been about excluding anyone. It had been about protecting something deeply personal until it was ready. Management entered moments later expecting to discuss rehearsal schedules. Instead, they found 7 artists gathered around old photographs, handwritten lyrics, and a dream that had survived years of success. After hearing the entire proposal, even the executives remained silent for a moment. Finally, one of them smiled. "This isn't just another release." "It never was," one member replied. Over the following hours, everyone contributed ideas. One suggested inviting young musicians to perform alongside the group during a special concert. Another proposed recording behind-the-scenes documentaries showing the songwriting journey. A third recommended creating scholarships for aspiring composers who lacked financial support. The project continued growing with every conversation. It no longer belonged to only 2 people. It belonged to all 7. Several weeks later, preparations quietly moved forward. Recording sessions blended with concert rehearsals. Volunteer organizations partnered with music schools. Designers created simple artwork inspired by handwritten notebooks instead of elaborate visual effects. Every decision reflected the same philosophy: authenticity over spectacle, connection over competition. The announcement day finally arrived. Fans around the world expected another major comeback. Instead, they received something entirely different: a heartfelt letter, a song, and the launch of a foundation dedicated to helping young artists discover opportunities that many of the members themselves had once searched for. The response exceeded every expectation. Listeners described the music as comforting, sincere, and timeless. Teachers shared stories of students inspired to write their first songs. Parents uploaded videos of children singing together at home. Community theaters that had struggled for years suddenly found new supporters. The impact spread far beyond music charts. Late one evening.